It's after 9 p.m. in our nation's capital, and that probably means that Joe Biden is likely fast asleep. It's been an exhausting few days for Joe. He signed a record 40 executive orders and actions into, quote, law after just 9 days in office. In other words, he has tripled the amount of executive orders signed by Trump, Obama, and Bush combined at this point in their presidencies. Now, instead of the unity that was promised, Joe is literally acting unilaterally to enact every aspect of his radical socialist agenda, and he's doing it all with the stroke of a pen, and its consequences are severe. It's so bad, even the New York Times editorial board ever so gently and ever so politely encouraged Biden to ease up on the executive orders and at least try to acknowledge there are three branches of government. You're the executive branch, then we have this other branch, the legislative branch. And even this ever so mild criticism of Biden, it caused many on the radical left, they became unglued, completely unhinged. How dare the New York Times do that? You get scores of these blue checkmark liberals on Twitter lashing out at the New York Times. One frequent MSDNC guest calling them cowardly. Another left-wing activist calling them moronic. By the way, when Democrats are busy fighting each other, just let the fight go on. How dare the Times write anything other than glowing praise for their dear comrades and weak leader? And, of course, this op-ed does pale greatly in comparison to how they covered Donald Trump and other conservatives in his first few weeks of office. One headline reads, Mr. Trump's threat to Europe's security. Another quote, Mr. President Trump's reckless shame game. 7 months into his term, the Times ran an article titled, The Failing Trump Presidency. Wow, that was quick. And sadly, this is about so much more than media bias, because with the stroke of a pen, that's it, a pen, Biden's litany of executive orders are causing real, serious, life-changing problems for tens of thousands of hardworking men and women, our fellow Americans, right here and right now. They are suffering. Thousands already receiving their pink slips after Joe canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, stopped border wall construction. Up to 58,000 more could soon be unemployed because of this new ban on furlough. These are high-paying, yes, blue-collar, high-skilled jobs gone, not easily, if at all, replaceable, all with the stroke of the frail, weak Joe Biden's hand, a pen in his hand. Socialist Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she thinks this is great. What a great day. I'm not making it up.
No, I'm feeling extraordinarily encouraged. And I think that the significance of President Biden's executive orders communicates a lot. One is that it really communicates that he meant what he said on the campaign trail, that he would make climate change a central priority of his administration, and that he considers it not just a national security threat, but frankly, the global matter that it is. But it also really signifies a good faith openness and relationship to those activist communities.
Congresswoman, with all due respect, your Green New Deal policies you're bragging about Joe's enacting, they've resulted in great American workers, your fellow Americans, getting fired. Tell me, where are they going to work next week? And how are they going to pay their bills? How are they going to put food on their table or pay their rent or make mortgage payments or car or truck payments? How are they going to pay for health care or insurance or day-to-day living? Do you even care? Because I see zero compassion from you and John Kerry and Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg and, let's see, Granholm and the rest of you. Hard-working, law-abiding, tax-paying men and women, working men and women out of work with all the promises. We want you to get new union jobs. Well, the high-paying jobs that disappeared, for example, in Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's own district, remember, she ran Amazon right out of her district. The world is ending, and the new Green Deal is far more important, she says the world's ending, than tens of thousands of American jobs. The onward march for socialism must be our top priority. Well, maybe Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez actually thinks that she's saving the planet. And by the way, one out-of-work American at a time, right? And of course, in reality, this Green New Deal socialist agenda is hurting our fellow Americans. It's hurting the country. And by the way, it will hurt the planet. Let me tell you how. The world is still, whether you like it or not, reliant. The lifeblood of the world's economy is energy, oil, gas, coal. And guess what? People will still be buying it. Americans will still be using it. And guess what? We'll have to now get more of it from, well, a lot of countries that we view as hostile regimes. You know, Russia, Iran, China, countries in the Middle East that hate our guts. Those would be countries that don't really give a rip about the environment either. In other words, hostile regimes run by hostile actors around the world, they're going to get rich and powerful. They're doing backflips. They want to send you thank you cards. And pollution will likely also get worse. This doesn't seem to matter to anybody in the Biden administration, anyone supporting this madness. For example, Biden's special climate envoy, John Kerry, is long flown all over the world. He owns his big private-owned jet, causing, by the way, his own massive carbon footprint. Now, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, perhaps you should ask your fellow climate change supporter, John Kerry, there's no problems telling people you're out of work, this is more important. Maybe that jet pollutes more in a given year than most Americans will in their entire lives. Now, I think maybe you should ask John Kerry, if he cares about the client, why doesn't he lead by example? How about he orders that his private jet be grounded and, in fairness, don't sell it because there'll still be a carbon footprint. He should have it disassembled so it can never be used again. Then you could recycle all the materials. And while we're at it, all of Biden's cabinet officials, they should stop using the private jets. And you might not know this, but you, the American taxpayers, pay for it. You foot the bill for what is a fleet, a massive fleet of private jets and aircraft used by federal officials and cabinet members. Now, think about it. If we're currently facing this great climate crisis, and Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is right, we only got 12 years, and it's that serious that oil and gas workers are going to lose their high-paying career jobs and lose their health care and maybe lose their homes and not be able to save for their future or send their kids to college, then shouldn't Biden officials lead by example, stop flying on the private jets that we, the American taxpayers, are paying for? Now, I'm waiting for Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, John Kerry, Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, Jennifer Granholm. I'm waiting for their answer. I want Joe to issue an executive order grounding the entire government fleet that we, the taxpayers, are paying for. This kind of heartless hypocrisy is disgusting. If you want to be leaders, lead by example. They don't care about we, the hardworking men and women in this country, and more specifically, those that lost, again, good-paying, well-skilled career jobs. Let them work elsewhere, John Kerry saying. It's a worthy sacrifice, according to Jennifer Granholm. Where's her sacrifice? And just go out and find another union job, says the ever really experienced Mayor Pete, mayor of South Bend. The party who claims to have a monopoly on compassion for all of us. I'm not seeing much compassion at all for all these hardworking Americans that are anxious and can't sleep tonight and worried where the next paycheck's going to come from and wondering whether or not they'll ever be able to replace the good jobs you just took from them. And remember, these job-killing policies didn't go through Congress. Stroke of a pen, thousands and thousands unemployed because Joe Biden listening to the radical left that controls him. He did it with the stroke of a pen. A few months ago on the campaign trail, there was Biden. He was claiming that governing by executive fiat was something that dictators do. No, we got to get the votes, he said. This is a democracy. What happened, Joe? In case you forgot, which is likely, I'll remind you.
I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
more than 3 times the number of executive orders than all three previous presidents. Biden's press secretary apparently trying to rewrite history. Let's take a look at this lie.
Does it suggest that President Biden sees himself as perhaps a benevolent dictator?
Well, Rob, I'm sure this wasn't your intention, but I think you took the president's comments a bit out of context. He was asked about tax reform and whether that could be done via executive order during the interview with George Stephanopoulos, which you're referring to.
That's certainly the question, but I think the answer.
Well, I think the question is pretty important context for everybody, and he said no. And the president also said during an interview with columnists back in December that he didn't think executive action should be used for everything, and that certainly is his point of view.
3 times the executive orders in the same time frame than Bush 43, Obama, and Donald Trump. Jen Psaki, I thought you were promised you weren't going to lie to the American people. That would be on, the fact-check lie list. And, of course, Biden's 40 and counting executive orders don't exactly spell unity, do they? And just today, he signed off on an order banning, get this, top priority, the term China virus in his White House, or Wuhan virus, from being used at any federal level. I don't know why, even though China and Wuhan were talking about geographical locations. You know, even though China, hate to say it, Joe, they were responsible for the virus. Remember, they put the travel ban in effect. You couldn't travel out of Wuhan to the rest of China. You couldn't travel from the rest of China to Wuhan, but you could travel from Wuhan anywhere in the world. And by the way, where's the order banning the term, I guess the German measles is next, or the new COVID South African variant of COVID-19? But hey, when you're ruled by executive fiat, I guess facts don't matter. Debate certainly doesn't matter. And apparently, neither do American workers. They're the people that wake up every day, they work hard, they play by the rules, they obey the laws, they pay their taxes, they raise their kids, they put in there, they wake up, shovel coffee down their throat, they make the kids a little lunch for school, they race off to work, they do their 12, 14 hours, they help their kids with homework, they feed them, they put them to bed, and they literally pass out exhausted every day. Well, they won't have that luxury anymore if this continues. Tens of thousands will be losing their job.